Hey guys, it's Young Living Country Girl here, and we are still reviewing some of our homeschool. So I planned on recording these a while ago, and it's just been, the summer is just going by already so fast, and we're just trying to have all the fun we can have. And so I am kind of behind. So I want to get to it, and I want to show you guys the curriculum we used last year and give you more in-depth on what we thought about it, as well as what we're planning on doing this year. So I'm going to do two separate videos for that, so that we're going to start with Bob Jones, because this is what we used for her my daughter's second and third grade year. And I really did like it, as far as it really does tell you how to teach. Like, this is the teacher's manual. This is a big manual, okay? It is nice, and I'm actually going to flip the camera so I can show you guys better and kind of walk through it with you guys. So hold on. Okay, so here is how the book starts out. This is the third grade Bob Jones, but all of them are pretty much laid out the same as far as so far what we've seen. In the higher grades, I don't know, but this is how it's laid out for these grades. What we're going to find is that, sorry, I was going to scoot my chair out to get a higher view. You're going to start out, and it's going to kind of give you a kind of what you're going to be learning in all the lessons. Just a really quick, shot of what you're learning. You're going to, sentence fragments, sentence parts, predicates. So it's kind of nice, because it tells you the lessons and stuff. If you are really big on planning, that can help you out. Then it goes into a little theme information that you can read to the kids, like a little story background. And it gives you an idea of a bulletin board. Now, we don't have room for a bulletin board, so I never did these bulletin boards. But if you had, space for a bulletin board, it is nice because it gives you, ideas and stuff. However, it doesn't provide anything, so you have to make these. It might provide it if you buy like the full package, because there was one other supplement thing that could come with this, but we didn't buy it because when I looked at it, it just didn't look like anything we needed. So, all right. So here's like how lesson one, how the lessons are laid out. This middle part is going to be exactly how your students' book is going to look, okay? So it's nice in the sense that you're going to see exactly what your students are going to be looking at. So if they say, Mom, I have a question with number 1, you can go right to, or where's number 1? Number 1, and you're going to see exactly what their question is, how it's written to them, and you're going to see, the answer to it. Obviously, theirs would not have the answer. So, like here we go, here's my teacher guide, and then here you go, you look at my daughter's book, and that's exactly the same page. Obviously hers is shown on 2, but it's the same idea as far as you can look exactly number 1 and see, how she did. So it's really nice. Then when you go into actual teaching the lessons in your teacher's guide, you have this spot here where it's going to show the black and the red, okay? So first it says, read aloud the following paragraphs, and it's going to tell you exactly what to read. Who was the paragraph about? So you read the black, and then your students are supposed to respond with what was in the red. It's nice because it already highlights the important parts for you to hit, to make sure you're going over, and it literally tells you what to say. So if you are wanting to teach and really get into it, this is great because it gives you that opportunity to really teach and to really get into it, and tells you what to say. But it does take a lot of time. I do have to say that. It does take a little more time, maybe not a lot of time, but it does take a little more time to do these lessons because it does require a lot of involvement from me. So it's something where when we did these lessons, my son, I'd have to find something else for him to do to keep him quiet, because it would take us probably about 15 to 20 minutes to go through the lesson part, just the reading, all this part, and answer and do all her questions and stuff. And then the first part is you do together. So it's called your guided practice. So you're going to do this first page together, and then you go to the second page and it says your independent practice. And that is what you're going to have your student do by themselves. So like on her first page, you do this with her, or I would have her read, kind of what we just talked about to kind of make sure she got it and help her with some of this stuff, because there was still some stuff she didn't know. And then we would go over this together, so she would know exactly how to do it and what was expected. When she flipped the page, you're doing the exact same thing. It's just a bigger lesson. So she would have to go through, but she knew how to do it. You know, we were writing an S if it was a sentence and an F if it wasn't, just like we did over here, just a really small lesson of it. So it is nice in that sense because, you know, you do it with, you know, them, so they really know what to do. And then when they come over here, they should be able to do it by themselves. But like I said, it did take a little more time to actually prep it out or to spend with her doing it. Prep time wasn't, I wouldn't say was that much. It's more just the actual lesson time that is involved in a teacher. So if you have multiple kids, it could be hard because you need to go over this whole lesson with them, you know, and then you do this guided work with them, and then they do this little part by themselves. So language arts was probably one of the harder subjects for myself to teach. And even though it tells you exactly what to say, sometimes it's still, maybe it's just me because language arts is confusing. It still was a little bit hard sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's kind of confusing. You know, maybe it was just me, but it felt kind of confusing. So that's how the Bob Jones is laid out. It's going to go through that all the way. You're going to have kind of grammar style lessons, and then it goes into a writing lesson. So like here she's learning about, you know, time charts and sequences. So you're going to spend some time, you know, doing a writing lesson. I did find that when we got to the writing parts, it was a little bit mundane, and I understand, you know, that's necessary, but it was a little bit much. At the end of each chapter, you have your chapter review, and then you would have a cumulative review, and then you would actually have a test in another book, which we actually have the book, and this third grade year, we didn't do a single test from that book, because I felt like with the cumulative review and the chapter review, it was like 3 tests over the same thing. So we actually never did the test part. I would just use these as her tests, and we would go over it, and I would grade her off of those because it just seemed like a lot of testing to do for each, you know, chapter or, you know, group of chapters or topic, I guess. So it was, I think it's about every 10 they would do one. And then when we got into the writing, like I said, some of it seemed like it was really drawn out. They expect you, and I know that's all of the writing process, but it was a lot, like as far as, you know, she would have to, you would go over parts of a letter, and then she'd have to map it out, and then she would have to do a rough draft, and then she'd have to do like a revised version, and then she'd have to do a revised version of a rough draft, and it kind of went on and on. So there was like drafting, and then there's revising, and then there's proofreading, and then there's revising again. And so a lot of times we would kind of skip some of those steps. We went over them, and I was like, okay, so now that you've, you know, written it, what would you do next? And we talked about what they were called, the next part, but we didn't rewrite every single thing. And that might come back maybe later to, you know, bite me in the booty. But at the same time, for now, you know, I've looked at grammar books going on to other grades, and it just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. And so I understand they're just like trying to get the kids to understand it and to remember it. And so I kind of feel like sometimes when they keep going over and over again, for my daughter, she gets very bored with it, and we need to move on a little bit quicker. So we are doing a different grammar this year. We're going to be learning literature through language arts and trying that out and seeing how that goes. So far, just reading through it, it looks amazing, but I will go ahead and do a review on that later. But this is what you're going to get when you do the Bob Jones. You're going to, you know, have your student book. You're going to have your teacher. You definitely need the teacher guide. And then there is the test book as well. Like I said, we didn't use it because I felt like with all of the tests and reviews in here, which they don't call them tests, it's chapter reviews and cumulative reviews, it kind of was a little bit much to do that test as well. But again, it's totally up to each person how they do it. For us, that's how it worked best. We just skipped those. So there you guys go. I hope that helped you guys out. I hope it gives you guys an idea on what you might be able to do with the Bob Jones University English, and we'll see. We might come back to it at some point, but for now, we're going to pass and we're going to try something else. So, but I hope this helped you guys out if you're looking for some kind of English writing and grammar curriculum for your children. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful, blessed day.